Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope. Today we are going to take a look at my zombie squad of the season, which I picked before the season. And we're going to check back every 5 weeks or so to see how it's doing. It's been 5 game weeks now, so yeah, we're going to check out how the team is doing so far. If you're unfamiliar with what a zombie squad is, it's basically choosing a team at the start of the season that is going to last you throughout the whole campaign without any changes, no transfers, no substitutions, no chips used. Basically just the same team the whole entire season, which is quite the challenge to get like a proper good squad. Like I've tried to do this every single season the past like 5 or 6 seasons. At least before the season I made like a zombie squad and I haven't really checked back, but this year I was going to make an effort to like check back and see how well the team is doing. And so far so good, as you'll get to see. So starting with game week 1, I already talked about this after the first game week, but let's recap for anyone that missed it. 85 points in the first game week, which was really great. Onana had 9 points against Wolverhampton, which was really lucky, and we'll get to Onana eventually and how he might not be the best pick after all, but either way, 9 points is pretty good from him. Chilwell as well had a really promising start to the season, 7 points. Guardiola and Gabriel, not the best centre-back pairing, having 4 starters or 4 defenders as starters. Maybe not the best idea, but so far it has actually led to some nice substitutions that we're going to see eventually. But yeah, Estepinian as well, no-brainer in the team. He's going to last the whole season, even in my own team where I can do transfers and stuff. Like my proper team, he's just staying. He's going to start pretty much every game as well. So yeah, Estepinian is great. Rashford, looking slightly promising at times, has been sort of underwhelming so far, but it still looks like a good pick. Bukayo Saka, as expected, he's collecting points pretty much every game week. Looks pretty good. Martinelli, not the best start. Maybe he comes good eventually. Now he's out injured as well, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. He started off decently with 5 points at least, but yeah. Madison and Diaby, however, are 2 picks that I'm really happy with. They're looking so good, and yeah, they might be 2 of the best value players of the season, and that is what we were trying to choose when we picked the zombie squad. Haaland captain, obvious. That was always going to be the case for any zombie squad. On the bench, we have Turner in goal. Hopefully, he doesn't need to play the whole season, but at the same time, Onana hasn't been that good either, so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no substitutions, like I said, in this team, so Onana is going to stay for the whole season unless he blanks or is out injured or something like that. Julian Alvarez is the first guy off the bench, and that has been really profitable so far, as we'll get into. Having him as first bench is also really good. It would probably be even better if he was a starter, but just having him in the squad entirely is a big plus, as we'll see. João Pedro, probably not the best punt, but he's the type of player that could score big in some game weeks. So he's not going to play that many game weeks because he's second off the bench. So hopefully we get really lucky eventually in the season where João Pedro gets a lot of points in those game weeks where we actually need him to play. Same goes for Udogi. Udogi is actually a really good pick. He would probably be preferred over every single defender apart from Estepinian as a starter. But yeah, once again, just glad that I had him before the season. He's a really trendy pick now, but I was really high on him before the season, as I was with Madison, Diaby, and Alvarez as well. So feeling pretty good about the season in general. But yeah, looking at this zombie squad, first game week, 85 points, really good start. 10 Saka points, 9 points from Madison, 7 points from Diaby. Is really, really good. And yeah, let's just go on to game week 2, which was not the best game week, but yeah, 39 points in game week 2. Onana has sort of just blanked every single game week since the first game week. Still not looking that good. Gabriel once again came on for 1 point. I did think about maybe switching Gabriel to Saliba, because that's what I probably would have done if I had actually done like a zombie squad in the actual game. I probably would have done the Gabriel to Saliba change because of the news that we got right before the Game Week 1 deadline. But seeing as I presented this team with Gabriel in it a week before or a couple days before the Game Week 1 deadline, I figured Gabriel should just stay there for the whole season. And in the end, it might actually be worth it because as we'll see in next Game Week, I think Game Week 3, it actually pays off. But yeah, really good game week in general. Estepinian with 11 points where he got an assist really late in the game, I think. And yeah, got a lot of points from that. That was the game against Wolverhampton. They conceded early, pretty early at least. But Estepinian, I think he had 2 assists that game or something. So yeah, Estepinian, fantastic pick as well. This is one of the game weeks where Haaland blanked. It's going to happen sometimes. Sadly, Alvarez on the bench with 7 points. Didn't get those 7 points because Gabriel came on as a substitute. Sadly, all around this game goes pretty poor, but yeah, that's what's going to happen sometimes with the zombie squad. Udogi with 5 points as well. That's a sign of things to come in terms of the bench points at some points this season. But yeah, decent game week. Well, not decent game week. A pretty poor game week, but yeah, that's what happens sometimes. Then we come to game week 3, and this is actually, like I said, Gabriel didn't play and Julian Alvarez came in as a sub. And this was the game where Alvarez played against Sheffield United, and he had several huge chances to score. I think he had 2 really good chances to score. And he also created a penalty that Haaland missed, which was doubly bad because Haaland is obviously the captain, and Alvarez could have had some really nice points from that as well. So real shame that we didn't get more points from Alvarez off the bench. You can also see Udogi with 12 points on the bench there. Would have been much better if Udogi was the starter and Guardiola was on the bench. But hey, that's not something you can easily predict before the season, so that's going to happen. Onana with 0 points again, not the best. Chilwell actually got a clean sheet, 6 points, pretty decent. Rashford 7 points. Rashford started to look better from this point on in the season, game week 3 onwards. Game week 1 and game week 2, Rashford was really disappointing, but now he's actually looking better and better. So yeah, Rashford, I don't really regret that pick either. I was really high on Rashford before the season, but in my actual team, I actually sold Rashford before game week 3, which ended up being sort of nice, sort of bad, because I also got the money to bring in Alvarez from that move with my personal team. But in this team, I already have Alvarez coming in as a sub, and yeah, we'll see in game week 4 and game week 5 how that works out. But yeah, Maddison and Diaby, the 2 stand-up picks in midfield. Really happy about that. 10 points for Maddison that game week. I think that was the game week against... let's double check actually. Game week 3, that was against Bournemouth away, where Maddison scored. Looked really good. Diaby with 12 points in the match against Burnley. Great sign of things to come. And I think that's also like a really nice thing if you're considering Rashford next game week in game week 6 against Burnley away. I think he's sort of a similar style of player to Diaby. He's kind of like a second striker-ish, at least the way they're playing now. And that is going to work really well against Burnley, I think. So I think Rashford has a really good game week 6 coming up, which we'll talk about when we get to the game week 6 potential team. But yeah, Udogi, 12 points on the bench, like I said. Yeah, that's what's going to happen sometimes. It's going to be bench points because you need a strong bench, because eventually this season, more and more players will be either rested or they'll have a blank game week or something like that, and you need a strong bench. That's one of the rules you need to have in place when you make a zombie squad basically for the season. The next up in game week 4, we have once again another auto sub. Guardiola didn't play in this match at all, and that is really lucky because Alvarez comes on with 14 points. He got the 14 points against Fulham. Really nice to get those points, and that helps us to get 84 points this game week, which is amazing. Obviously, half of those points almost is Haaland captaincy, but yeah, that's what everyone gets really, because Haaland as captain is pretty much a given. But yeah, Rashford once again 7 points, Maddison once again with 7 points. Those 2 players are not the most popular picks right now. Currently, they're kind of like on a downturn after people hyping them up earlier in the season. But at least in game week 4, they got 7 points each, which helped get this team 84 points. But Alvarez and Haaland, the standouts in this game week as well. Udogi, once again, 5-pointer on the bench. But yeah, Udogi is just going to stay on the bench the whole season, basically, apart from a couple game weeks towards the end of the season where for example, if Arsenal have a blank game week, we're going to need all 3 players because we have Saka, Martinelli, and Gabriel. So in those game weeks, we need every single player to play other than Arsenal. But yeah, that's further along in the season. Game week 5, once again, we get the auto sub. This time around, it was Estepinian who was benched. This is obviously the past game week. A lot of people struggled in game week 5, so look away now, I guess, if you want to see a team that didn't do any transfers from game week 1 until game week 5. That got 44 points, which is decent in this game week at least. Joe Pedro on the bench with 7 points as well, so it's kind of a shame that no other offensive player didn't play or were rested this game. Martinelli with the injury as well. After he scored the goal, Martinelli scored the early goal, would have had 8 points or something if he had been able to play on and get the goal and stuff, potentially even bonus as well. So a big loss for this team, but the Martinelli injury, to be honest, for the zombie team might be a blessing in disguise because it's going to make sure that Alvarez keeps playing, and that's basically what's going to be needed. But yeah, so far, in the season, Alvarez has come on in 3 straight game weeks where he accumulated 25 points in those 3 game weeks. So really good fortune there in terms of the zombie team. 9 points in game week 5 from Alvarez, who is currently like the most popular transfer in, I guess. Especially now, I just watched the Champions League and he scored 2 goals. I think it was actually the second goal was probably an assist because it was a free kick that was curled in towards the back post and the goalkeeper just punched it into his own net, basically. But yeah, Alvarez, really happy that he's in the zombie squad. Madison and Diaby, like I said as well, really happy about those 2 guys. In general, if I were to change this team, like go back and change this team, because this team is going to last you the whole season. If I were to make some changes, Martinelli is the obvious one. He has been sort of the most disappointing one so far. I actually think I would still keep Rashford, because I think Rashford is going to be really good value this season. Chilwell, though, starting to look a bit bad. The defense in general, Chilwell, not so sure. Guardiola is more of a rotation risk than I expected. Gabriel is more of a rotation risk than I expected as well. So yeah, I'm not so sure about Guardiola, Gabriel, and Chilwell. Joao Pedro, potentially not the best bench option, but at the same time is a bench option, so you could get really lucky. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't really matter that much because you're not going to have those players play that many games. In general, the second and third bench players. But yeah, in general, if I were to make some changes, probably to the defense, probably have Udogie as a starter, Estupiñán as a starter, and potentially Matty Cash as a starter because he's playing super offensively, or Moreno as a starter as well, who was out or has been out injured so far this season. But eventually, I think Moreno will be a really high value pick. So he's another potential player I could have had. I did think about having Malo Gusto because Reece James always gets injured, but yeah, that's not really viable for a zombie squad. Malo Gusto is more applicable for a team where you can make transfers and changes for when Reece James is back and stuff. So it doesn't really make sense for this team. Onana is definitely someone else that I would probably like to drop. Man United look pretty shaky defensively. They have so many injuries defensively as well. So maybe they start performing well eventually, Man United, but yeah, Onana and goal, not the best. So defensively, not so happy with this team, but offensively, I think it's basically just Martinelli that I'm kind of unhappy about. Maybe could have tried to find a way to get Salah into the team, but it just costs so much money and you need a good bench. So for my personal team where I have Salah, I can have players like Archer, I can have players like Kabore and stuff who I don't really need, who I can sell if I need to have to field 11 players for that particular game week. But for a zombie squad, it doesn't really make sense to have those players that will not score that many points across the whole season. So yeah, it's kind of more hard to fit in Salah in the zombie squad than it is to fit him into your like normal team. So yeah, but all in all, let's check out how this zombie squad has done so far this season with all these points put together. As you can see, some of you have probably calculated already how many points this is going to be in the end, or after 5 game weeks at least. And it is in total 310 points, which might be better than some of you guys watching right now. It is slightly behind my personal team. I am on 323 points currently, so this zombie squad is actually 13 points behind my current team, which is kind of crazy when you consider that the zombie squad hasn't made any transfers so far at all. So yeah, obviously it would have 2 transfers in check. Obviously it would have all chips in check as well if you had this squad from game week 1. And it's actually pretty well set up for the future. I think Madison is going to be really good from game week 8 onwards. Diaby as well already has decent matches and is going to have even better matches from game week 9 onwards, especially. Alvarez on the bench, he comes in pretty much every game week, it seems like. Gabriel is sometimes not playing. Guardiola sometimes not playing, as we've seen. Estupiñán gets the rest sometimes. Martinelli is now injured. So Alvarez is going to get a lot of playing time in the zombie squad. I do wish that he was in the starting lineup rather than one of the defenders. But yeah, that's really not something you can change at this point, because this is basically the zombie team where yeah, you can't do any changes. In total, the team is also 102 points behind the number 1, and even more so because I'm about 100 points or 90 points, I guess. 89 points away from number 1 personally with my own team. But I have the advantage that I can use triple captain, I can use bench boost, I can use free hit to gain some points compared to number 1. And yeah, the top 100, I think most managers there have already used their chips. And while that in my actual team, is something that I can gain back because I have the chips to use. With the zombie squad, you don't get to use the chips, so it doesn't really matter. You're actually 102 points behind, and you can't catch up using triple captain and those kinds of chips. Unless you break the rules of the zombie squad. But yeah, I know a lot of other people have a zombie squad this season. Some people or managers prefer to do it this way. They have zombie leagues where they play in leagues where you can't make any changes. I think that sounds like fun as well. I might create like a separate zombie team in the actual game next season, or I might also end up just having to make a zombie squad because I've said a couple times now that if I don't get 10k or 10k or better in FPL this season, or if I don't get 10k subs by the start of next season, I'm pretty much going to quit FPL. But seeing as I'm going to make FPL content in the next off season as well, before the next season in FPL, I'm going to have a team. So if I don't fulfill either of my goals of 10k positioning in FPL or 10k subs, then I'm probably going to roll out a zombie squad for next season before I properly end it afterwards, after that full season. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this zombie squad update. I'm going to update it in 5 weeks from now, I guess, or I don't know how long it is until game week 10. But yeah, after game week 10, I'm going to give you another update and see how well this team is doing. If you have a team that has scored less than this zombie squad, please tell me in the comments. How far away are you from the zombie squad? Can you take any knowledge from this team at all? Do you have any interest in seeing updates from this team after all? Because yeah, maybe people don't really care that much because it doesn't really affect how you do transfers in FPL. So maybe it's more like a niche sort of video, but yeah, we'll see. If you do like the video, then yeah, sure, give it a like. If you do like this channel, if you've seen a couple of videos by now and you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to get to those 10k subs before the start of next season. So yeah, hopefully you can help me reach that goal at some point. But yeah, so far so good in my personal team as well. 13 points better than the zombie squad, 323 points. I do have Alvarez, I do have Salah. I have a really good team for the future. I'm going to talk more about my team on Friday for the actual team selection video that I'm putting out on Friday. Thursday, I'm going to put out the FPL Scope podcast with me and Kevin, talking about his squad as well and how he's managing FPL going forward, seeing as he has already used his wildcard chip. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting discussion with Kevin. And actually, just a heads up as well, Kevin's brother, Tim, is actually the manager of the week this week. So he's going to be featured on the podcast, and maybe we even get a cameo because Kevin lives with his brother. So maybe he gets a cameo on the podcast as well. I'm going to ask him after this recording, actually. If he can make a little cameo on the podcast as well. So that's going to be fun to watch. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you enjoyed the zombie squad, kind of a different video. I know not that many FPL content creators really do any zombie squad content. I think it's kind of fun, at least with the fonts and stuff. I'm having a bit of fun with that. And I'm also going to have like a special Halloween themed edition of the zombie squad when we get to Halloween, because that is on a Tuesday, and usually I post these videos on a Tuesday. So I'm going to post the zombie squad updates on Halloween as well, and have kind of more like a spooky vibe potentially, with more lighting and stuff potentially. I don't know, if I feel like it. It depends on my mood. But yeah, either way, that has been it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.